Ambassador Elena Vasquez walked through the crystal corridors of the Galactic Council station, with her head held high. The station floated in neutral space, far from any star system. It was a place where thousands of species came together to talk, trade, and solve problems without violence. At least that was the idea. Elena was human. She represented Earth and all its colonies in this vast meeting place of aliens. Humans had only been part of the galactic community for 50 years. 50 years was nothing compared to species that had been traveling the stars for thousands of years. Many aliens still saw humans as the new kids, naive and soft. The council chamber was enormous. It could hold representatives from 500 different species. The ceiling stretched so high that clouds sometimes formed near the top. Each species had their own section with seats or platforms designed for their particular body type. Some aliens needed water tanks. Others required high-pressure chambers or floating platforms. Elena made her way to the human section. It was small, just 3 seats. Earth had only 3 representatives because they only had 20 colony worlds. Other species had hundreds or even thousands of worlds. The Krillian Empire alone controlled 400 planets. She sat down and organized her datapad. Today's session was about trade disputes. Again. For the past 6 months, the Krillian Empire had been making things difficult for human colonies. They blocked shipping routes. They charged extra taxes on human goods. They accidentally delayed food shipments to human mining colonies. The session began. The council leader, a tall being made of living crystal named Shartok, called the meeting to order. His voice echoed through the chamber like wind chimes. The council recognizes Ambassador Thaxkor of the Krillian Empire, Shartok announced. Thaxkor stood up. He was massive, nearly 8 feet tall, with 4 arms and scaled red skin. 2 small horns curved back from his forehead. The Krillians were warriors. Everyone knew it. They had the 3rd largest military in the galaxy. The Krillian Empire wishes to discuss the human colony of New Perth, Thaxkor said. His voice was deep and rough. They have failed to pay proper docking fees for the past 3 months. This is unacceptable. Elena stood smoothly. The colony of New Perth is a farming world with 12,000 people. They grow food. The docking fees you demand are 3 times the standard rate. We have documentation showing that every other species pays the standard rate. You only charge humans the higher price. Thaxkor made a sound like a laugh. Perhaps humans should learn to negotiate better. Several other species made sounds that might have been laughter. The Xanthari delegation clicked their mandibles in amusement. The Pollux representatives flashed colors of yellow, which meant they found something funny. Elena kept her face calm. We request that the council review the fee structure and enforce the standard rates. Request noted, Shartok said. The council will review the matter in 4 to 6 months. 4 to 6 months. By then, New Perth might have to shut down. Without shipments of medicine and equipment, a farming colony could not survive. Elena sat down and made notes. This was the 8th complaint she had filed against the Krillian Empire. None had been resolved. After the session ended, Elena walked through the diplomatic quarter. She needed to clear her head. The station had gardens that simulated different planetary environments. She found one that looked like Earth, with green grass and blue sky projections. She was not alone. An old saurian sat on a bench near a fountain. Saurians looked like upright lizards with wise eyes. This one had gray scales and moved slowly. He was very old. Ambassador Vasquez, the saurian said. May I speak with you? Of course. Elena sat down on the bench. I am Krelix. I have served on the council for 140 years. I remember when humans first arrived. Then you have more experience than most, Elena said politely. Krelix was quiet for a moment. I also remember what came before. Elena looked at him. Before? The old saurian tapped his clawed fingers together. The official records say humans were discovered 50 years ago by a Xanthari exploration ship. That your people had just developed faster than light travel. That you were welcomed into the galactic community. That is correct, Elena said. That is the official story, yes. Krelix looked at her with ancient eyes. But I am old, Ambassador. I was there when the council made certain decisions. Decisions about how to handle humanity. Elena felt something cold in her stomach. What do you mean? I mean that some of us remember the Yothran Collective. Krelix watched her face carefully. Do you know that name? No, Elena admitted. Few do. They were erased from most records 300 years ago. The old Saurian stood up slowly. Be careful, Ambassador. The Krillians do not understand what they are provoking, and when they finally do understand, it will be too late. He walked away before Elena could ask more questions. That evening, Elena could not stop thinking about the conversation. She returned to the human embassy section and found her aide, Marcus Chen. Marcus was young but brilliant. He had worked in intelligence before joining the diplomatic corps. Marcus, I need you to look something up, Elena said. The Yothran Collective. Find anything you can. Marcus typed on his console. He frowned. That is strange. There are references to them in cross-indexed files. But when I try to access the actual records, they are sealed. Restricted by council order. How restricted? Highest level. I would need to hack the system to get in. Marcus looked at her. That would be very illegal. Elena thought about New Perth. She thought about the other colonies struggling because the Krillians kept pushing. She thought about the council doing nothing. Do it, she said. But be careful. 3 days later, Marcus came to her quarters in the middle of the night cycle. He looked pale. I found something, he said quietly. You need to see this. They went to a secure room, one that blocked all listening devices. Marcus pulled up files on a private screen. The Yothran Collective was a major empire 300 years ago, Marcus explained. They controlled 200 systems. They were conquerors. They would find primitive worlds, study them, and then invade. They had done this to 40 different species. What happened to them? Elena asked. They found Earth. Marcus pulled up an old star chart. Earth was primitive by galactic standards. Humans had nuclear power and chemical rockets. The Yothrans saw easy targets. They saw resources. They sent a subjugation fleet. Elena leaned forward. What happened? Humans fought back with everything they had. Nuclear weapons, missiles. The early records show that Earth forces destroyed several Yothran ships. The Yothrans were surprised but not worried. They destroyed 5 human cities from orbit as a lesson. Marcus paused. Then something changed. And what changed? Human transmission stopped. For 3 months, Earth went silent. The Yothrans thought they had won. They sent landing forces to take control. Marcus pulled up another file. Then humanity responded. But not with negotiations or surrender. They launched a counterattack that the Yothran Empire could never have imagined. The files showed fragments of reports. Ships moving at relativistic speeds turned into weapons. Biological agents designed specifically to target Yothran DNA. Fusion bombs hidden in surrender shuttles. Automated defense systems that kept fighting even when their operators were dead. The war lasted 2 years, Marcus said quietly. When it was over, the Yothran Collective no longer existed. Their homeworld was uninhabitable. Their colonies were destroyed or abandoned. Out of 2 billion Yothrans, fewer than 10,000 survived. They are not even classified as a species anymore, just scattered refugees. Elena stared at the screen. And the council? The council arrived after it was over. They found Earth heavily damaged but functional. They found humans rebuilding, and they were terrified. Marcus pulled up the final file. They made a deal. They would pretend that first contact was happening for the first time. Humans would pretend to be a peaceful species, and no one would ever speak about the Yothrans again. Elena read the final report. It was written by Shartok himself, 250 years ago when he was just a junior council member. The report said, humans appear to have 2 modes of operation. In the first mode, they are diplomatic, creative, and eager to cooperate. In the second mode, they are the most dangerous species we have ever encountered. They do not fight wars to win territory or resources. They fight wars to completely destroy anything that threatens them. There is no middle setting. We must ensure humanity never enters the second mode again. The cost to the galaxy would be incalculable. There was a note at the bottom. The last transmission from the Yothran commander was recorded 3 days before their homeworld fell. The commander said, "The humans have changed. One of their leaders told us we have really pushed it now." Those were the last words any Yothran ever spoke to the wider galaxy. Elena sat back in her chair. She felt sick. She felt angry. She felt something else too, something she did not want to name. The council has been managing us, she said quietly, keeping us peaceful, making sure we never have a reason to fight. It looks that way, Marcus agreed. There are protocols buried in the council charter. Special rules that only apply to humanity. We are never to be provoked beyond certain levels. Any species that threatens human civilians faces immediate council intervention. But the Krillians do not know this, Elena said. No, the protocols are classified. Only the oldest council members know the truth. And the Krillians are arrogant. They think humans are weak because we negotiate instead of fight. Elena stood up and walked to the window. Outside she could see the Krillian warships docked at the station. Big, powerful, intimidating. What do we do? Marcus asked. Elena was quiet for a long time. Finally she spoke. We do our job. We keep negotiating. We keep being patient, because that is what humanity decided to be when we joined the galaxy. We chose peace. And if the Krillians keep pushing? Elena turned to look at him. Her face was calm, but her eyes were hard. Then they will learn why the council made those special rules. They will learn why the old species watch us carefully. They will learn what happens when a human says certain words. What words? Marcus asked. Elena looked back out at the Krillian ships. Now you've really pushed it. The next day, Elena returned to the council chamber. There was another session. More complaints. More delays. Thaxcor made another joke about weak humans. Other species laughed. Elena stood and spoke calmly. The Krillian Empire has now interfered with human trade routes 17 times. We have filed formal complaints each time. We have been patient. We have followed every council protocol. We are asking again formally for the council to intervene. Thaxcor stood up. Or what, little human? Will you cry? Will you write another complaint? He looked around at the other delegates. Humans are evolved prey animals. You talk about peace because you are afraid to fight. Your entire species is soft. The chamber was silent. Everyone waited to see what Elena would say. She smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Ambassador Thaxcor, I want to make something very clear. Humans are patient. We believe in negotiation. We believe in following the rules. But please do not mistake our patience for weakness. Please do not mistake our preference for peace as inability to do anything else. Thaxcor laughed. Is that a threat? No, Elena said calmly. It is a warning. A friendly one. Because we would prefer to remain friends. She sat down. The session continued. But in the back of the chamber, Krelix the old Saurian watched with worried eyes. He had heard warnings like that before. 300 years ago, right before an entire species went extinct. He began making preparations to move Saurian assets away from Krillian space, just in case, because he was old. And he remembered things that others had forgotten. And he knew that humans only gave warnings when there was still time to step back from the edge. The question was whether the Krillians were smart enough to listen. Based on what he had seen of Thaxcor, Krelix suspected they were not. The attack came 3 weeks after Elena's warning. New Perth was a peaceful world. It had rolling fields of grain that stretched to the horizon. The colonists had built small towns with parks and schools. They grew food that fed 6 other human colonies in the sector. 12,000 people lived there. Most of them were farmers, teachers, and their families. The Krillian ships arrived without warning. 3 heavy cruisers dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly above the main settlement. They did not send a message. They did not make demands. They simply opened fire. The planetary defense system was designed to stop pirates or small raiders. It was not designed to stop military warships. The defense satellites lasted 40 seconds before they were destroyed. Then the Krillian ships targeted the settlements. The attack lasted 11 minutes. When it was over, the main settlement was burning. The school had taken a direct hit. The hospital was rubble. 214 people were dead. 31 of them were children. The Krillian ships jumped back into faster-than-light travel before human defense forces could respond. They left behind destroyed homes, crying survivors, and a message buoy. The message was simple. This is what happens when inferior species do not show proper respect. Elena was in her quarters when the emergency call came through. It was the middle of the night cycle on the station. She answered the comm link and saw the face of Admiral Sarah Rodriguez, commander of the Human Defense Fleet. Ambassador, there has been an attack, Rodriguez said. Her voice was tight with controlled anger. New Perth, 3 Krillian heavy cruisers. They hit civilian targets. Elena felt her chest tighten. Casualties. Over 200 dead. More wounded, Elena. Rodriguez paused. They hit the school. During class time. Elena closed her eyes. Her daughter, Maria, had lived on New Perth for 2 years. She had moved to a different colony 6 months ago to attend university, but Maria had gone to that school. She had friends who still lived there. Confirmed Krillian? Elena asked, though she already knew the answer. Ship signatures matched, and they left a message buoy bragging about it. Rodriguez leaned forward. Elena, the fleet is ready. Give me the word and we can be in Krillian space in 2 days. Stand down, Admiral, Elena said quietly. We follow protocol. The Council must handle this. The Council? Rodriguez's face showed disbelief. Elena, they killed children. On purpose. The Council will debate for months while the Krillians laugh. I know, Elena said, but we are part of the galactic community. We follow their laws. Call an emergency council session. I will present the evidence. The Council will have to act. Rodriguez did not look happy, but she nodded. You have 1 week, Ambassador. If the Council does not deliver justice in 1 week, I am taking the fleet to Krillian space with or without orders. The comm link ended. Elena sat in the dark for a long moment. Then she called Marcus. Get me every piece of data from New Perth, she said. Video, sensor logs, everything. We present to the Council in 6 hours. The emergency council session was crowded. Word had spread fast. An attack on civilians was rare in the modern galaxy. Most species followed the rules. Wars were fought between militaries, not against farmers and children. Elena stood before the Council with her datapad. Behind her, the main screen showed footage from New Perth. Buildings burning. People running. Bodies in the rubble. The Council chamber was silent as the video played. When it ended, Elena spoke. Her voice was calm and clear. 3 Krillian heavy cruisers attacked the human colony of New Perth without warning or provocation. They targeted civilian structures including a school, a hospital, and residential areas. 214 people are dead. 31 were children under the age of 12. She brought up more data. This is the sensor data showing the Krillian ship signatures. This is the message buoy they left. This is the attack pattern showing they specifically targeted non-military structures. Elena looked around the chamber. Under Council law, attacks on civilian populations are considered war crimes. We formally request immediate Council action against the Krillian Empire. Thaxcor stood up. He did not look concerned. The Krillian Empire regrets this unfortunate military error. Our ships were conducting exercises in that sector. They received faulty intelligence suggesting the colony was a hidden military base. We will pay the standard compensation for accidental civilian casualties. Military error? Elena's voice was very quiet. You targeted a school. During class hours. You left a message bragging about the attack. The message buoy was likely placed by pirates attempting to frame the Krillian Empire. Thaxcor said smoothly. As for the targeting, our weapon systems may have malfunctioned. These things happen in military exercises. Elena stared at him. The entire chamber could see that he was lying. But he did not care. He was daring her to do something about it. Shartok, the Council leader, chimed softly. The Council must deliberate on this matter. Such serious accusations require thorough investigation. How long? Elena asked. These matters typically require 4 to 6 months for proper review. 4 to 6 months. Elena looked around the chamber. She saw representatives from dozens of species. Most would not meet her eyes. They were afraid. The Krillian Empire had a huge military. No one wanted to anger them over some dead humans. You have 1 week, Elena said. The chamber went very quiet. No one made demands of the Council. No one gave the Council deadlines. Shartok's crystal body flickered with colors that indicated surprise. Ambassador Vasquez, the Council does not respond to ultimatums. That was not an ultimatum, Elena said. It was a courtesy. You have 1 week to provide justice under Council law. If the Council cannot or will not act, then humanity will seek justice under our own laws. Thaxcor made that laughing sound again. And what will you do, little human? You have a small fleet. We have hundreds of warships. You have 20 colonies. We control 400 worlds. If you want war, we will crush you like insects. Elena turned to look at him. Her face was very calm, too calm. Ambassador Thaxcor, you just threatened Earth's colonies. You murdered our children, and now you threaten to crush us like insects. She paused. I strongly advise you to reconsider your position. Or what? Thaxcor spread his forearms wide. What will you do? Elena was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice carried through the entire chamber. We will do what we always do when someone pushes us too far. We will remove the threat. Completely. She walked out of the chamber. Behind her, the delegates erupted in conversation. But in one corner, old Krelix sat very still. He had heard that tone before. 300 years ago. Right before a species called the Yothrans ceased to exist. Krelix immediately sent a coded message to the Saurian homeworld. Move all assets out of human and Krillian space. To it now, do not ask questions. This is not a drill. That evening, Krelix found Elena in the gardens again. She was standing by the fountain, looking at the projection of Earth's sky. Your daughter lived on New Perth, Krelix said quietly. She moved away 6 months ago, Elena replied. She is safe, but her best friend from childhood died in that school. She was 8 years old. Krelix was quiet for a moment. You should access the Forbidden Archives. Look up the Sol incident and Species 941. Species 941. That is what the Council calls humanity in certain classified files. The number of a species that was almost terminated before it could become a threat. Krelix moved closer. There are things your government agreed to never tell your people. Things about your own history. But you need to know now, because what is about to happen will echo that history. Why are you helping me? Elena asked. Because I was there, the old Saurian said. I was a junior analyst when we found Earth 300 years ago. I saw the ruins of the Yothran Collective. I saw what humans did when they stopped trying to be peaceful. He touched her shoulder gently with one clawed hand. The Krillians think they are strong. They think their military makes them powerful. They do not understand what true danger looks like. And you do? Yes. Krelix looked sad. I have seen what happens when a human says, now you've really pushed it. I saw it 300 years ago. The galaxy has forgotten, but some of us remember. Some of us made sure the rules were put in place to protect everyone from what humans become when their children are threatened. He walked away, leaving Elena alone with her thoughts. That night, Elena and Marcus hacked deeper into the Forbidden Archives. They found files marked Species 941 Containment Protocols. They found records of debates about whether humanity should be allowed to join the galactic community at all. Some council members had argued for quarantine. Others suggested preemptive military action, but the majority had decided on a different approach. They would welcome humanity. They would encourage human patience and diplomacy. They would create special protocols ensuring that humans were never provoked beyond certain levels. They would bet that humans could control their own nature. It had worked for 50 years. Humans had been model members of the galactic community, peaceful, helpful, friendly. But now the Krillians had crossed a line that was supposed to be uncrossable. They had killed human children. They had bragged about it. They had threatened to do it again. Elena read the final file. It was titled Protocol Omega, Final Resort. The file described what the Council should do if humanity ever entered elimination mode again. The answer was simple. Nothing. Let humans do what they will do. Then rebuild the galactic community afterward. There was a note from Shartok written 200 years ago. If humans activate Protocol Omega, it means we failed. It means we allowed a situation to develop where Earth felt that complete destruction of a threat was necessary. At that point, intervention would only make things worse. Humans do not fight to win. They fight to eliminate. The best we can do is limit the damage and ensure it does not spread. Elena closed the files. She looked at Marcus. We have 4 more days before my deadline expires. Do you think the Council will act? Marcus asked. No, Elena said. The Krillian Empire is too powerful. The other species are too afraid. They will debate and delay and hope the situation calms down. Then what do we do? Elena stood up. We make a call to Earth. We tell them what happened. And then we step back and let humanity decide how to respond. 3 days later, Thaxcor made another mistake. He ordered a second raid. This time, the target was New Dublin, another farming colony. The Krillian ships did less damage because New Dublin had better defenses. But they killed 38 more people. 12 more children. The message boy said, humans cry easily. We will make them cry every week until they learn proper respect. When Elena heard the news, she did not look angry. She did not look sad. She looked like something inside her had turned off. Marcus recognized that expression. He had seen it on soldiers right before battle. It was the look of someone who had made a decision and would not be turned away from it. Elena called for one final council session. When the chamber assembled, every delegate could feel that something had changed. The air felt heavy, dangerous. Elena stood in the human section. She did not bring data pads. She did not bring evidence. She simply stood and spoke. The Krillian Empire has now attacked 2 human colonies. They have killed 252 people. 43 of them were children. We asked the Council for justice. The Council voted for extended mediation. Elena paused. During this mediation period, the Krillians attacked again. They killed more children. They left a message saying they will do it every week. The chamber was silent. Every species waited to hear what would come next. Humanity hereby withdraws from the Galactic Council, Elena said calmly. We will resolve this matter under Earth law. Chaos erupted. Delegates shouted. Shartok chimed for order. Thexkor stood up, laughing. You withdraw? Thexkor said. Fine, leave. Go back to your 20 little worlds. We have 400 worlds and the 3rd largest military in the galaxy. What will you do, little humans? What can you possibly do to us? Elena looked at him. Her eyes were flat, empty. You are about to find out why we were allowed into this council with protocols already in place specifically about us. Thexkor laughed harder. Protocols? About you? You are weak. You are prey animals playing at being civilized. Ambassador Thexkor, Elena said quietly, you have killed our children. You have laughed about it. You have promised to kill more. So I need to tell you something very important. She took a breath. Now you've really pushed it. The chamber went silent. In the back, Krellick stood up and began walking toward the exit. A few other older delegates noticed and followed him. They did not run, but they moved quickly. Thexkor watched them go with confusion. Then he looked back at Elena. What does that mean? Is that supposed to scare me? Elena smiled. It was not a human smile. It was the smile of a predator that had been pretending to be prey. You will understand soon enough. I suggest you spend time with your family, Ambassador. While you still can. She walked out of the chamber. Behind her, more of the older species began quietly leaving. They sent messages to their homeworlds. They moved their ships. They prepared for what was coming because they remembered. Even if most of the galaxy had forgotten, they remembered what humans were capable of when someone really pushed it. And now the Krillian Empire was about to learn. Elena sat in a secure room deep inside the human embassy section. The walls were lined with signal dampeners. No one could listen in. No one could track what she was doing. Marcus sat beside her, his fingers moving across multiple screens as he dug deeper into the forbidden archives. I have something, Marcus said. A file cluster marked First Contact, Actual. It is separated from the official First Contact records. Open it, Elena said. The screens filled with data. The date stamp showed 300 years ago. The location was Sol System, Earth's home system. The Yothran Collective, Marcus read aloud. A species from the Corward Expansion Zone. They built an empire by finding primitive worlds and conquering them before the species could develop advanced technology. Standard procedure was to scout, classify the primitive species, then invade with overwhelming force. Elena leaned forward. They found Earth. Yes, 302 years ago. Marcus pulled up an image. The Yothrans looked like tall, thin creatures with 6 legs and 4 arms. Their heads were triangular with multiple eyes. They sent a scout fleet. 12 ships. They observed Earth for 6 months. The reports showed Earth as it had been 3 centuries ago. Humans had nuclear power. They had primitive computers. They had just started sending rockets to their moon. By galactic standards, they were babies. Helpless. The Yothran commander filed a report. Marcus continued. He classified humans as low-threat resource opportunity. Earth had water, minerals, and a breathable atmosphere. The 2 billion humans living there were considered simple labor potential. Elena felt sick. They were going to enslave humanity. That was the plan. Marcus pulled up more files. The Yothran High Council approved the conquest. They sent a subjugation fleet, 300 warships, against a species that had just learned to split atoms. The next files showed the beginning of the war. Yothran ships arrived in Earth's orbit. They sent a message demanding surrender. Earth's response was to fire everything they had. Nuclear missiles, railguns, primitive lasers. Humans destroyed 11 Yothran ships in the first engagement, Marcus said with surprise in his voice. The Yothrans expected no resistance. Humans fought back with everything they had. Elena watched footage from the battle. She saw human ships, crude and simple compared to alien technology, ramming into Yothran cruisers. She saw defense platforms firing until they ran out of ammunition, then self-destructing to take enemy ships with them. She saw atmosphere fighters attacking warships 100 times their size. The Yothrans were surprised but not worried. Marcus read from the reports. They pulled back and bombarded 5 Earth cities from orbit. New York, Beijing, Mumbai, Lagos, São Paulo, 5 cities. 40 million people dead in one day. The footage showed the destruction. Mushroom clouds visible from space. Entire cities turned to ash. Elena felt tears on her face but did not wipe them away. The Yothrans sent another message, Marcus said quietly. Surrender or they would destroy 5 more cities every day until humanity gave up. Elena waited. She knew what came next would be important. Earth went silent, Marcus said. All transmissions stopped. The Yothrans thought humans were preparing to surrender. They waited. 3 months passed with no word from Earth. What were humans doing during those 3 months? Elena asked. Marcus pulled up classified military reports. His hands were shaking. Everything. Humans were doing everything. They converted every factory to war production. They built shipyards in the asteroid belt. They drafted scientists, engineers, anyone with useful skills. They stopped being a divided planet and became one unified force with one goal. What goal? Complete destruction of the Yothran collective. Marcus looked at her. The reports are very clear about this. Earth's governments held a summit. They decided that negotiation was impossible. The Yothrans had proven they would kill millions for strategy, so humanity had to eliminate the threat. Not defeat it. Eliminate it. The next files showed what humanity built in those 3 months. Warships designed by people who had only seen alien technology for a few days. Weapons that broke every galactic convention. Strategies that no civilized species would consider. Humans launched their counterattack exactly 3 months after Earth went silent, Marcus said. The Yothran fleet was waiting in orbit, confident that humans would surrender any day. They were completely unprepared for what happened. The reports described the attack. Human ships came from everywhere. From the asteroid belt, from behind the moon, from orbits around Mars. Hundreds of ships that had not existed 3 months ago. But they were not normal ships. Kinetic kill vehicles, Marcus read. Ships with no weapons. Just engines and mass. Humans accelerated chunks of iron to near light speed and aimed them at Yothran ships. When they hit, they released more energy than nuclear weapons. Elena watched the footage. Yothran cruisers simply ceased to exist when the kinetic weapons hit them. No explosion, no debris. Just there one moment and gone the next. The Yothrans tried to retreat, Marcus continued. But humans had prepared for that too. They had built automated defense platforms all through the Sol system. Platforms that kept fighting even when all the human operators were dead. The Yothrans lost 60 ships trying to escape Earth's system. What about the main Yothran Empire? Elena asked. Their homeworld? Marcus pulled up more files. This is where it gets worse. Much worse. Humans did not just defend Earth, they went on the offensive. They sent ships to Yothran space. But these were not normal military ships. What were they? Suicide ships. Automated vessels filled with nuclear weapons and piloted by volunteers who knew they would not return. They jumped into Yothran systems and self-destructed near population centers. Marcus's voice was flat as he read. 37 Yothran colony worlds. Destroyed, just gone. Elena stared at the screen. That is genocide. Yes, Marcus agreed. But humans were not done. They developed biological weapons. Viruses designed specifically to target Yothran biology. They released them on every Yothran world they could reach. The mortality rate was 98%. The report showed Yothran worlds dying. Entire populations wiped out by diseases that did not affect any other species. It was targeted, efficient, horrifying. The Yothran High Council tried to surrender 1 year into the war, Marcus said. They sent messages. They offered reparations. They begged for mercy. What did humans say? Nothing. Earth's government did not respond. They just kept attacking. They kept sending suicide ships. They kept releasing bioweapons. Marcus pulled up a transmission from Earth's War Council. There is a quote from the human commander. She said, "They killed our children. They bombed our cities. They tried to enslave us. There will be no negotiation. There will be no mercy. There will only be extinction." The war lasted 2 years total. When it ended, The Yothran collective no longer existed. Their homeworld was uninhabitable, poisoned by human bioweapons. Their colonies were destroyed or empty. Out of 2 billion Yothrans, fewer than 10,000 survived as scattered refugees. The Galactic Council arrived 6 months after the war ended, Marcus said. They had heard about a conflict but did not know the details. What they found shocked them. Elena read the council reports. The investigators could not believe what they saw. An entire spacefaring empire destroyed by a species that had been primitive 2 years earlier. The investigators were terrified. They filed reports recommending that Earth be quarantined or eliminated as a threat. But some council members argued differently, Marcus said. Shartok was one of them. He was young then, only 100 years old. He argued that humans could be reasoned with, that they only became dangerous when threatened. Elena found Shartok's original report. It was marked Most Secret, Council Leaders Only. She read it aloud. I have studied the humans carefully. They are not naturally violent. In fact, they prefer cooperation and peace. But when their survival is threatened, they transform. They stop thinking about rules or civilization. They think only about eliminating the threat, completely, totally, with no concern for the cost. The report continued. I propose we offer Earth membership in the galactic community, but we must set conditions. First, we pretend this war never happened. We tell the galaxy that humans are newly discovered. We give them a clean start. Second, we create protocols to ensure humans are never threatened in ways that activate their elimination response. Third, we educate council members about what humans are capable of, so that no one accidentally triggers another extinction event. They made a deal, Elena said quietly. Yes, Earth's government agreed. They wanted peace. They wanted to join the galactic community. They agreed to pretend the war with the Yothrans never happened. They agreed to appear peaceful and friendly. They agreed to follow council rules. Marcus pulled up the treaty, but they also made their own demands. What demands? If any species attacked human civilians, especially children, Earth reserved the right to respond with full force under Earth's own laws. The council agreed. They did not think anyone would be stupid enough to attack human children after what happened to the Yothrans. Marcus looked at her. They buried this history. They erased the Yothrans from official records. They created the fiction that humans were discovered 50 years ago, not 300 years ago. Elena sat back. Her mind was racing. Everything made sense now. The special protocols, the way older species looked at humans with caution, the warnings from Krelix. There is one more thing, Marcus said. He pulled up a final file. The last transmission from the Yothran homeworld before it went dark. The Yothran commander sent this 3 days before human bioweapons killed everyone on the planet. A recording played. The voice was translated from Yothran language. This is Commander Ixilthar. Our situation is hopeless. The humans will not stop. They will not negotiate. We tried to make them surrender. We killed their people to teach them fear. But we were wrong. So wrong. They are not afraid. They are angry. One of their leaders told us that we have really pushed it now. Those were her words. Now you've really pushed it. I do not know what it means in their language, but I know what it means for us. It means we are all going to die. The recording ended. Static filled the speakers. That was 300 years ago. The last words any Yothran ever spoke to the wider galaxy. Elena stood up. She felt cold. She felt something else too. Strange clarity. She understood now. She understood what she had said to Thaxacor. She understood what it meant. We need to contact Earth, she said. They already know, Marcus said quietly. I have been monitoring Earth's communications. The moment you withdrew from the council and said those words, Earth activated Protocol Omega. Protocol Omega? It is the code phrase. When a human ambassador says, now you've really pushed it, it signals to Earth that negotiation has failed, and elimination is necessary. Marcus pulled up Earth's military communications. The fleet is already mobilizing. The weapons are already being prepared. Earth is not going to debate. They are not going to vote. They are going to do what they did 300 years ago. How long? Elena asked. The first human ships will reach Krillian space in 72 hours. Marcus looked at her. Elena, the Krillian Empire has no idea what is coming. They think this will be a normal war. Territory, resources, maybe some orbital bombardments. But it will not be, Elena said. No. It will be elimination. Complete and total. Just like the Yothrans. Marcus's voice was very quiet. We should contact Thexcor, warn him. Give him a chance to evacuate civilians. Elena thought about that. She thought about the school on New Perth. She thought about 43 dead children. She thought about Thexcor laughing, promising to kill more every week. No, she said finally. We gave them every chance. We negotiated. We filed complaints. We followed the rules. They chose violence. They chose to kill our children. Now they face the consequences. This will change the galaxy, Marcus said. Everyone will remember what humans really are. Good, Elena said. Maybe next time, someone will remember this before they decide to hurt us. Maybe next time they will take our warning seriously. She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Krillian Empire was going about its business. They were laughing about weak humans. They were planning their next raid. They had no idea that human ships were already moving through space toward them. They had no idea that they were already dead. In another part of the station, Krelix sat in his quarters watching the news feeds. Other species were starting to ask questions. Why were the oldest species moving their assets? Why were the Saurians, the Velix, and the Korath all quietly evacuating anything near Krillian space? Krelix received a message from a young Xanthari reporter. Why are you moving your ships? Is there going to be a war? Krelix thought about how to answer. Finally, he replied, There is not going to be a war. War implies two sides fighting. What is about to happen is not a war. It is an execution. The Krillian Empire is already dead. They just do not know it yet. The reporter sent back a confused message. Krelix did not respond. He just continued watching the news and remembering 300 years ago. He had been young then. An assistant to a council investigator. He had gone to the Yothran homeworld 6 months after it fell. He had seen the empty cities, the dead population, the automated human weapons platforms still in orbit, making sure no one landed to rescue survivors. He had asked his supervisor, why did humans do this? The Yothrans tried to surrender. His supervisor, a wise old Velix, had answered, because humans only have 2 settings, peace and extinction. When you activate the second setting, they do not turn it off until the threat is completely eliminated. The Yothrans threatened human children. At that point, the Yothrans' fate was sealed. Humans do not fight wars to win. They fight wars to ensure they never have to fight that enemy again. Now, 300 years later, another species had made the same mistake. They had threatened human children. They had laughed about it, and now they would pay the same price the Yothrans paid. Krella sent one final message to the council. Prepare for what comes next. Humans will do what they always do when pushed too far. Study the Yothran files if you want to know what to expect. And remember, this is why we created the special protocols. This is why we tried to ensure humans were never provoked. We failed. Now we watch as another species learns why you should never, ever push a human too far. In 72 hours, the first human ships would arrive in Krillian space. The Krillian Empire had 3 days left to exist. The week passed slowly. The galaxy held its breath. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stayed in the human embassy section. She did not attend council sessions. She did not respond to messages from other species asking what was happening. She simply waited. On the station, strange things began happening. The oldest species continued quietly moving their assets. Saurian trade ships left Krillian space. Felix research stations near the Krillian border shut down and evacuated. Korath mining operations packed up and moved. Younger species did not understand. They sent questions to the older delegates. Why evacuate? The humans had only 20 colonies and a small fleet. The Krillians had 400 worlds and a massive military. If there was a war, it would be over quickly. The older species did not explain. They just kept moving. Ambassador Thexcor noticed but did not care. He held a press conference in the council's media center. Reporters from 100 species attended. The humans have withdrawn from the council, Thexcor said confidently. This shows their weakness. They cannot face the Krillian Empire in legitimate debate, so they run away. We predict they will return within a month, begging for mercy. A Xanthari reporter asked, What about the attacks on human colonies? Do you consider those justified? Thexcor waved a dismissive hand. The humans were interfering with legitimate Krillian military operations. We sent warnings. They ignored them. The consequences were their own fault. You killed children, another reporter said. Casualties happen in military operations, Thaxcor replied. If humans cannot protect their own civilians, perhaps they should not have colonies in space. He smiled at the cameras. The Krillian Empire is not afraid of humanity. They have 20 worlds. We have 400. They have a defense fleet. We have a conquest armada. If they want war, we will crush them in days. The press conference ended. Thaxcor returned to his quarters feeling satisfied. The galaxy would see Krillian strength. The humans would learn their place. He did not notice the old Saurian watching from the back of the media center. Krellick saw everything and felt only sadness. The Krillians still did not understand. They thought this was about military power. They thought numbers and weapons would matter. They were wrong. On the 6th day of Elena's deadline, something changed. Human ships began moving. Not the official defense fleet. Other ships, cargo vessels, suddenly activated military-grade engines. Mining stations revealed hidden weapon systems. Research platforms deployed attack drones. The Zenthari Intelligence Service noticed first. They sent an urgent report to the Council. Human military forces are 3 times larger than official records indicated. Recommend immediate investigation. The Council called an emergency session. Elena attended this time. She sat calmly in the human section while other species demanded explanations. Ambassador Vasquez, Shartok chimed. Galactic law requires full disclosure of military assets. Our intelligence suggests humans have been hiding warships. Not hiding, Elena said. We simply never said that certain civilian ships could be converted to military use in under an hour. You never asked, so we did not mention it. The chamber erupted in argument. Several species accused humans of violating the spirit of galactic law. Elena sat quietly until they finished. Are we being accused of a crime? She asked. If so, we are no longer members of the Council, so your laws do not apply to us. If not, then this discussion is pointless. Thaxcor stood up. Your hidden fleet changes nothing. The Krillian Empire still outnumbers you 5-1. If you want war, we are ready. War? Elena looked at him curiously. Who said anything about war? You withdrew from the Council. You mobilized your fleet. You made threats. I did not threaten you, Ambassador. I warned you. There is a difference. Elena stood up. But since you seem eager for conflict, let me be clear. Humanity does not want war with the Krillian Empire. Thaxcor laughed. You see? They are already backing down. I was not finished, Elena said coldly. We do not want war because war implies 2 armies fighting over territory or resources. What we want is simpler. We want justice for our dead children, and we will have it. Justice? Thaxcor made a dismissive gesture. You want trials? Reparations? The Council can mediate if you return to your seat. Elena shook her head. No, I mean justice under Earth's laws. Under our laws, when someone murders children and promises to murder more, there is only one sentence. Complete elimination of the threat. The chamber went very quiet. You cannot eliminate the Krillian Empire, Thaxcor said, but for the first time he sounded uncertain. We can, Elena said simply. We have before. Ask the Council about the Yothran Collective. Oh wait, you cannot. They do not exist anymore. She left the chamber. Behind her, delegates began frantically searching for information about the Yothrans. Most found nothing. The records were sealed. But rumors began spreading. Old species who remembered started talking. The story leaked out in pieces. An empire that had attacked humanity. A species that no longer existed. A warning about pushing humans too far. On the 7th day, everything changed. The Krillian Empire, believing humans were weak, launched another raid. This time they sent 10 warships to hit 3 human colonies simultaneously. They wanted to break human morale. They wanted to prove their superiority. The attack on the first colony, New Glasgow, lasted 15 minutes. 23 people died before the Krillian ships jumped away. The attack on the second colony, New Mumbai, lasted 12 minutes. 18 dead. The third target was different. It was supposed to be the human research colony of Kepler Station. But when the Krillian ships arrived, they found something unexpected. A human battle fleet was waiting for them. Not just any fleet. The flagship was the EDS Unbroken, a massive dreadnought that officially did not exist in human military records. Around it floated 30 heavy cruisers, 50 destroyers, and 100 attack corvettes. Admiral Sarah Rodriguez commanded the fleet from the Unbroken's bridge. When the Krillian ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, she was ready. All ships weapons free, Rodriguez ordered. No survivors. The battle lasted 4 minutes. The Krillian ships tried to retreat immediately. They were outnumbered and outgunned. But human ships had been waiting in precise positions. When the Krillians tried to jump away, human gravity generators activated and prevented faster-than-light travel. The Krillians were trapped. Human ships did not give warnings. They did not demand surrender. They simply opened fire with everything they had. Railguns firing metal slugs at relativistic speeds, missile swarms that overwhelmed point defense systems, laser arrays that cut through shields like paper. One Krillian commander managed to send a distress call before his ship was destroyed. "We are under attack. The humans have a massive fleet. They are not trying to capture us, they are trying to kill us." Someone help, the transmission ended. All 10 Krillian ships were destroyed. No escape pods were launched. No prisoners were taken. Admiral Rodriguez watched the debris field and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, just cold determination. "Send a message to all human ships," she said. "Target package has been updated. We now have authorization for deep strikes into Krillian space. All units proceed to assigned positions. Operation Extinction is now active." Throughout human space, fleets began moving. Ships that had been pretending to be cargo haulers revealed themselves as carriers. Mining stations in the asteroid belts launched attack wings. Defense platforms around human colonies activated weapons systems that violated several galactic warfare conventions. The galaxy watched in shock as humanity's true military strength became visible. It was not 3 times larger than official records. It was 10 times larger. Possibly more. On the council station, emergency sessions ran non-stop. Species demanded explanations. How had humans hidden so much military capability? Why had no one noticed? Krelix finally spoke up during one session. "We noticed. The oldest species have always known. We saw what humans were building. We said nothing because we hoped it would never be necessary. We hoped no one would be foolish enough to activate humanity's elimination response." But the Krillians did not know, a young Polix delegate said. "Someone should have warned them." "We did warn them," Krelix said tiredly. "We created special protocols. We made rules to prevent exactly this situation. But the Krillians ignored the rules. They ignored the warnings. Now they face the consequences." "But the Krillian Empire has 400 worlds," the Polix insisted. "Even with a larger fleet, humans cannot conquer an empire that size." "They are not trying to conquer it," Krelix explained. "They are trying to eliminate it. There is a difference." On the 3rd day after the deadline expired, human ships struck deep into Krillian space. They did not attack military targets first. They attacked infrastructure. Communication networks went dark. Trade routes were blocked by automated weapons platforms. Supply depots were destroyed. The Krillian High Command tried to organize a defense, but they could not coordinate their forces without communication systems. They tried to send fleets, but human ships avoided direct battles. Instead, humans used hit-and-run tactics. Strike hard, destroy the target, disappear before reinforcements arrived. It was not warfare as the galaxy understood it. It was extermination. On the 5th day, human ships deployed something new. Nanoplagues, microscopic machines that targeted Krillian computer systems. Within hours, every Krillian ship, station, and defense platform lost control of their automated systems. The Krillian military tried to fight back, but their weapons would not fire. Their shields would not activate. Their ships drifted helplessly, while human vessels destroyed them one by one. The Krillian High Command sent an emergency message to the Galactic Council. "We request immediate intervention. The humans are using illegal weapons. They are targeting civilian infrastructure. They refuse to accept our surrender." The council called another emergency session. This time Elena did not attend. She sent Marcus instead. "The council demands that humanity cease military operations," Shartok announced. "You are violating the Galactic Warfare Conventions. You are using prohibited weapons. This must stop." Marcus stood up. He was young, but his voice was steady. "Humanity is no longer bound by council laws. We withdrew. You chose to do nothing when Krillians murdered our children. Now you do not get to tell us how to respond. But you are committing war crimes," a Xanthari delegate shouted. "By whose definition?" Marcus asked. "Council law? We do not follow council law anymore. We follow Earth law. Under Earth law, the Krillian Empire committed acts of genocide against human civilians. The penalty is elimination of the threat. You cannot eliminate an entire empire, Shartok said. This is madness. We did it before, Marcus replied calmly. 300 years ago. Ask the Yothrons. Oh wait, you cannot. They do not exist anymore. He looked around the chamber. The council had the chance to stop this. We begged for justice. We followed your procedures. You did nothing. Now you want to complain about our methods? He left the chamber. Behind him, the delegates sat in stunned silence. On the 8th day, the Krillian Empire tried to organize a counterattack. They assembled a fleet of 200 warships. It was the largest military formation they could create with their communications disrupted. The fleet jumped to the human colony of New Perth, intending to destroy it in revenge. They arrived to find the colony defended by 5 human ships. Just 5, the Krillian commander laughed. 5 ships against 200? Humans are fools, he ordered the attack. His fleet moved forward. Then the 5 human ships did something strange. They did not fire weapons. They just transmitted a signal. 3 seconds later, the space around the Krillian fleet tore apart. Wormhole bombs, weapons that opened temporary wormholes to unknown destinations. The Krillian ships were not destroyed. They were simply pulled through the wormholes and scattered across the galaxy. Some appeared near black holes. Others appeared in empty space thousands of light years from home. All were lost, 200 warships, gone in seconds. After that, the Krillian Empire stopped trying to fight. On the 10th day, the Krillian High Command sent a formal surrender to Earth. They offered everything. Reparations, territory. They would punish the commanders responsible for the attacks. They begged for mercy. Earth's response was simple. Request denied. Elimination protocol continues. By the 14th day, the Krillian Empire was collapsing. Supply chains were gone. Communications were destroyed. 3/4 of their fleet was disabled or destroyed. Human ships appeared everywhere, striking without warning, disappearing before retaliation was possible. It was not a war. It was an execution. On the council station, Elena finally held a press conference. Reporters from across the galaxy attended. They wanted answers. Ambassador Vasquez, a Zenthari reporter, asked, "When will humanity stop? The Krillian Empire is beaten. They have surrendered. How much longer will this continue?" Elena looked at the camera with cold eyes. "It will continue until the Krillian Empire can never threaten human children again. It will continue until they are no longer capable of launching attacks. It will continue until the job is done." "But you are destroying an entire civilization," the reporter protested. "They destroyed our children," Elena said quietly. "What did they think would happen? That we would forget? That we would forgive?" She shook her head. "No. When someone murders our children and promises to murder more, there is no forgiveness. There is only justice, complete and final." "How is this justice?" another reporter asked. "This is revenge. Call it what you want," Elena said. "But remember this moment. Remember what happens when a human says, 'Now you've really pushed it.' Because the next species that thinks about harming human civilians will remember. And maybe, just maybe, they will choose differently." She ended the press conference. In 3 more days, the Krillian homeworld would fall. The empire that had boasted 400 worlds and a massive military would be reduced to scattered refugees. And the galaxy would learn once again why you should never, ever push a human too far. The war, if it could even be called that, lasted 3 weeks. On day 15, human forces reached the Krillian homeworld. The planet Krillos Prime held 3 billion citizens. It was the heart of the empire, the center of their government, their culture, their military command. The Krillian defense fleet made a final stand. Every available ship formed a barrier around their homeworld. 217 vessels, from massive battleships to small patrol craft. Every captain knew they were facing death, but they stood anyway. This was their home. Admiral Rodriguez observed the defense fleet from the bridge of the Unbroken. Around her, the human armada waited. Over 300 ships and more arriving every hour. "They are brave," Rodriguez said quietly. "I will give them that." "Orders, Admiral?" her tactical officer asked. Rodriguez was silent for a moment. She thought about the children killed on New Perth. She thought about the school that took a direct hit. She thought about Thaxcor laughing and promising to kill more every week. "Send a message to the Krillian fleet," Rodriguez said. Tell them they have 1 hour to evacuate the system. Anyone who wants to live should leave now. After 1 hour, anyone remaining will be considered hostile. The message was sent. On the Krillian ships, commanders faced an impossible choice. Flee and abandon their homeworld or stay and die protecting it. 43 ships chose to leave. They broke formation and jumped away. The remaining 174 ships stayed. Rodriguez watched them go and felt nothing. No respect, no pity, just the cold certainty of someone doing a necessary job. 1 hour passed. All ships, Rodriguez commanded, begin bombardment, target military installations only. Avoid civilian centers for now. The human fleet opened fire, not with planet-destroying weapons, not with the antimatter warheads they had available. They used precision strikes, railgun slugs that hit military bases, missiles that destroyed shield generators, lasers that took out defensive satellites. The Krillian defense fleet charged forward, trying to protect their world. They fought with desperate courage. But courage was not enough against superior numbers and technology. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Krillian defense fleet was gone. Not a single ship remained intact. The debris field orbiting Krillos Prime would be visible for centuries. Rodriguez opened a channel to the Krillian High Command on the planet below. This is Admiral Sarah Rodriguez of Earth's Defense Force. Your military is defeated. Your defenses are destroyed. You have one choice remaining. Unconditional surrender, or we begin targeting your cities. The response came from High Commander Vexillar, the leader of the Krillian military. What are your terms? Total disarmament. All warships will be destroyed. All weapons manufacturing will cease. All faster-than-light capable vessels will be disabled. Krillos Prime will be quarantined. You will never leave your home system again. You would trap us here? For how long? Forever, Rodriguez said flatly. Your species attacked our children. You laughed about it. You promised to do it again. Now you will spend the rest of your existence confined to one system, so you can never threaten anyone else. This is barbaric, Vexillar shouted. You cannot imprison an entire species. Watch us, Rodriguez replied. You have 12 hours to accept. After that, we will start destroying your cities one by one until you agree. Your choice. The channel closed. On Krillos Prime, the Krillian High Command met in emergency session. They argued. Some wanted to fight to the last. Others pointed out that fighting was hopeless. The humans had already proven they could destroy the entire planet if they wanted. 11 hours later, High Commander Vexillar sent the surrender. Human forces landed on Krillos Prime. They did not occupy the planet in the traditional sense. They simply disabled everything. Every shipyard was destroyed. Every weapons factory was demolished. Every vessel capable of faster-than-light travel had its engines removed. Then humanity built something new in orbit. An automated defense grid, hundreds of weapons platforms that would shoot down anything trying to leave the system. The platforms were self-repairing and self-replicating. They would last forever. The Krillian Empire was not destroyed. The population survived. Their cities remained standing. But they were prisoners in their own system, guarded by machines that would never sleep and never show mercy. Ambassador Thaxcor was captured during the occupation. He was brought aboard the Unbroken and taken to a holding cell. Elena came to see him there. He looked different now. The arrogant warrior was gone. What remained was a broken male who had watched his entire civilization fall in 3 weeks. Why? Thaxcor asked hoarsely. We surrendered. We offered everything. Why trap us forever? Elena looked at him through the force field. You killed children. You murdered 43 innocents. You laughed about it. You promised to do it every week. That was war, Thaxcor said desperately. Casualties happen in war. No, Elena said coldly. That was you making a choice. You chose to target civilians. You chose to hit schools. You chose to brag about killing our young. She leaned closer. You wanted to know what humans would do. Now you know. When you threaten our children, we do not negotiate. We do not compromise. We eliminate the threat completely, finally, forever. But we surrendered, Thaxcor shouted. We gave up. Too late, Elena said. You surrendered after we decided you needed to be eliminated. At that point, your surrender meant nothing. You would always be a threat. So we removed your ability to ever threaten anyone again. She turned to leave. Your empire is gone, Thaxcor. Your species will survive, but you will never travel the stars again. You will never threaten anyone again. You will live in that one system until your son dies. That is the price of pushing humanity too far. She left him there screaming about injustice. She felt nothing. No satisfaction, no anger. The job was done. That was all that mattered. The war ended on day 21. Human forces withdrew from Krillian space, leaving only the automated defense grid. The Krillian Empire, which had controlled 400 worlds and had the third largest military in the galaxy, was reduced to one planet in one system, forever quarantined from the rest of civilization. The Galactic Council called an emergency summit. Every species sent representatives. They needed to discuss what had just happened. They needed to decide how to respond to humanity's actions. Elena attended. This time she sat in the human section with her head high. She had nothing to apologize for. Shartok opened the session. The Council must address the recent conflict between humanity and the Krillian Empire. What occurred was unprecedented. An entire spacefaring civilization has been effectively imprisoned. They murdered our children, Elena said simply. We responded appropriately. Appropriately? A Xanthari delegate stood up. You destroyed an empire. You used illegal weapons. You ignored their surrender. We used the weapons we deemed necessary, Elena replied. We ignored their surrender because we did not want surrender. We wanted elimination of the threat. We achieved that goal. This sets a terrible precedent, the Xanthari continued. Any species could claim justification for extreme violence. Then do not kill our children, Elena said flatly. It is quite simple. Humanity follows the rules. We negotiate. We compromise. But if you murder our young and promise to murder more, then you have activated our elimination protocol. At that point, nothing will save you. Krellick stood up slowly. The old Saurian had been quiet throughout the war. Now he spoke. I have lived for 203 years, Krellick said. I have seen many species rise and fall. I have watched empires conquer and collapse, but I have only seen one species capable of what humanity just did. He looked around the chamber. The Krillians made a mistake. They thought humans were weak because humans prefer peace. They did not understand that humans are not peaceful because they cannot fight. They are peaceful because they choose peace. But when that choice is taken away, when their children are threatened, humans become something else entirely. He pulled up images from the war. Krillian ships destroyed, cities disabled, the automated defense grid orbiting Krillos Prime. This is what happens when you push a human too far, Krellick said. They do not fight to win territory. They do not fight for resources. They fight to ensure they never have to fight that enemy again. Total elimination. No second chances. No mercy. But that is barbaric, a Polix delegate protested. Perhaps, Krellick agreed, but it is effective. The Yothran Collective attacked humanity 300 years ago. They killed millions of humans. They tried to enslave Earth. Humanity responded by erasing the Yothrans from existence. Now, 300 years later, another species made the same mistake. They killed human children. Humanity responded the same way. Complete elimination of the threat. He sat down slowly. The pattern is clear. Humanity gives warnings. They negotiate. They follow rules. But if you cross the line, if you harm their civilians, especially their young, then humanity transforms. And once that transformation happens, nothing in the galaxy can stop them. The chamber was silent. Every delegate was thinking about the implications. Humanity had just proven it could destroy any empire in the galaxy if provoked enough. That made them the most dangerous species in existence. Shartok chimed softly. The Council must decide. Do we condemn humanity's actions? Do we attempt to punish them? Krellick laughed bitterly. Punish them with what? They just destroyed the third largest military in the galaxy in 3 weeks. They have weapons we did not know existed. They have fleets hidden throughout their space. Who exactly will enforce any punishment? No one answered. I propose a different approach, Krellick said. I propose we welcome humanity back to the Council. But we also make very clear to every species what the rules are. You can negotiate with humans. You can compete with them economically. You can even have political disputes. But you never ever threaten human civilians, and you absolutely never harm their children. Because if you do, you will learn why humans are the only species with their own warning protocols. After hours of debate, the Council voted. Humanity would be readmitted to the galactic community, but new protocols were enacted. Any species that attacked human civilians would face immediate Council intervention. Any species that killed human children would be considered an existential threat to galactic peace. The vote was unanimous. Elena returned to her role as Earth's ambassador. She attended sessions. She negotiated trade deals. She smiled and was friendly with other delegates. But everyone who saw her now saw her differently. They knew what lay beneath the friendly exterior. They knew what humans were capable of when pushed too far. 2 months after the war ended, a young diplomat approached Elena in the gardens. He was a Velix, a species that looked like upright foxes with silver fur. He was new to the council. Ambassador Vasquez, the young Velix, said nervously, "I wanted to ask about the phrase you used. Now you've really pushed it. Why does that phrase carry so much weight?" Elena looked at him. She could have refused to answer, but she decided the galaxy needed to understand. 300 years ago, humans were attacked by the Yothran Collective, Elena explained. The Yothrans killed millions of our people. They tried to enslave our species. After they bombed 5 of our cities, a human leader told them they had really pushed it. That was the last warning. After that, humanity stopped negotiating and started eliminating. 2 years later, the Yothrans were extinct. "So it is a warning phrase?" the Velix asked. "No," Elena said. "It is not a warning. It is a notification. When a human says those words, they are not threatening you. They are informing you that the decision has been made. You are going to be eliminated. Nothing will change that. The only question is how long it will take." "But why use a phrase at all?" "Because humans are optimists," Elena said with a sad smile. "Even when we have decided to eliminate a threat, part of us hopes you will understand and back down. The phrase is one final chance, one last opportunity for you to realize you have crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. And if someone hears that phrase, what should they do?" "Run," Elena said simply. "Evacuate your people. Move them as far away as possible. Because once a human says those words, your civilization is already dead. You just have not stopped moving yet." The young Velix shuddered. "That is terrifying." "Good," Elena said. "You should be terrified, because that fear will keep you from making the mistakes the Yothrans and the Krillians made. That fear will remind you that humans prefer peace, but we are capable of so much worse." Over the following months, the story spread throughout the galaxy. The phrase, "now you've really pushed it," became infamous. Parents told their children about it as a cautionary tale. Military academies studied the Krillian War as an example of what not to do. Diplomats learned to recognize the warning signs of human anger. The Krillian Empire, once proud and strong, remained locked in their home system. The automated defense grid worked perfectly. Several times, Krillian ships tried to escape. Each time, the automated platforms destroyed them without hesitation. After 5 years, a human inspection team visited Krylos Prime. They found a species learning to live within their constraints. The Krillians would never forgive humanity, but they understood. They had pushed too far, and this was the price. Daxkor was still alive. He had become a teacher, warning young Krillians about the mistakes his generation had made. He taught them about the 43 human children killed in the attacks. He taught them about the phrase that sealed their fate. "We thought humans were weak," Daxkor told his students. "We thought their patience meant they were afraid to fight. We were wrong. Humans are patient because they prefer peace. But when you take away that choice, when you harm their children, they become the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. Remember this. Remember our mistake, so that if we ever escape this prison, we never repeat it." Back on the council station, life returned to normal. Trade resumed. Diplomatic sessions continued. Humans once again became known as friendly, helpful members of the galactic community. But everyone remembered. Every species knew what lay beneath the friendly exterior. One day, a new species joined the council. They were called the Vrex, a militaristic culture from the far rim. They were aggressive in negotiations. They made threats. They talked about taking resources from weaker species. Their ambassador stood in the council chamber and pointed at the human section. "Why should we respect these creatures? They are small. They have few worlds. They hide behind rules and diplomacy." Elena stood up slowly. The chamber went silent. Every delegate held their breath. "Ambassador Vrex," Elena said calmly, "I would like to tell you a story about the Krillian Empire." "Have you heard of them?" "No," the Vrex said dismissively. "They used to control 400 worlds. They had the third largest military in the galaxy. They thought humans were weak. They attacked our colonies. They killed our children. Elena smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. Now they live on one planet in one system forever. They will never travel the stars again. Would you like to know why? The Vrex ambassador was silent. They pushed us too far, Elena said quietly. They made us say certain words. And once those words were said, their fate was sealed. She sat down. I hope you will be wiser than they were. The Vrex ambassador sat down quickly. He never made threats again. Years passed. Decades. The memory of the Krillian War faded for some species, but not for those who had lived through it. Not for those who had seen what humans could do when pushed beyond their limits. In military academies across the galaxy, cadets learned about the war. They studied human tactics. They analyzed the weapons humanity had deployed. But most importantly, they learned about the warning signs. An old Saurian instructor taught the final class before graduation. He was Krellix's grandson, carrying on the teaching tradition. What is the most important thing to remember about humans? The instructor asked his students. A young cadet raised her hand. They prefer peace? Yes, and? But they are capable of extreme violence when threatened. True, but there is something more important. The instructor pulled up footage from the Krillian War. Humans give warnings. They negotiate. They follow rules. But if you cross the final line, if you harm their children, they become something else entirely. They stop being diplomats and become eliminators. And once that transformation happens, nothing can stop them. But how do you know when you have crossed that line? Another cadet asked. The instructor smiled sadly. You will know, because a human will say 7 words. Now you've really pushed it. When you hear those words, there is only one appropriate response. What response? Run, the instructor said simply. Run as fast and as far as you can, because nothing in the galaxy can save you after that. The class ended. The cadets graduated. They joined their species' diplomatic corps and military. And each one carried the lesson with them. Never push a human too far, never threaten their children, never make them say those 7 words. Because when a human says, now you've really pushed it, it is not a threat, it is not a warning, it is a notification. It means you are already dead. You just have not stopped moving. Yet, and that is why every species in the galaxy runs when they hear a human say those words, because they finally understand what humanity has always been, not warriors by nature, not conquerors by choice, but eliminators by necessity. And the most dangerous thing in the galaxy is not a species that loves to fight. It is a species that hates to fight, but knows exactly how to end you when they must. That is humanity. That is why the galaxy learned to leave them in peace. And that is why no one has pushed a human too far in 100 years, because they remember the Yothrans, they remember the Krillians, and they never ever want to be the third. The massive window in Commander Jack Reed's office showed the endless stars of the Orion Arm. 200 years had passed since humans could fight in space wars. Jack looked at the metal box on his desk. It belonged to his great-grandfather, one of the last human soldiers to fight in a galactic war. Commander Reed, the Galactic Council representatives are waiting for you, said the voice of his assistant through the speaker. Jack fixed his uniform and took a deep breath. Send them in. The door slid open with a soft hiss. 3 aliens entered the room. The tallest one was Ambassador Trell, a blue-skinned being with 4 arms and eyes that changed color with his mood. Currently, they glowed a nervous yellow. Commander Reed, thank you for meeting us on such short notice, said Trell, bowing slightly. Please, sit down, Jack said, pointing to the chairs across from his desk. Trell sat down, his companions following. The second visitor was General Vorax, a reptilian alien with scales that reflected light like metal. The third was Diplomat Mira, who looked almost human except for her silver skin and completely black eyes. We face a serious problem, Trell said. His eyes shifted to a dark orange. The Void Collective has taken 3 more systems in the past week. Jack nodded. The Void Collective was a mysterious species that had appeared 6 months ago from unknown space. They used strange fighting methods that confused the Galactic Defense Forces. How many planets have they taken now? Jack asked. 27, General Vorax answered, his voice deep and rumbling. They should not be winning. Our ships are better. Our weapons are stronger. But they keep defeating us. Jack turned to his computer and pulled up the latest reports. The screen showed a map of the galaxy with red dots marking the conquered systems. The pattern was clear to him, though he doubted the aliens could see it. They're using old human tactics, Jack said quietly. What do you mean? Asked diplomat Mira, leaning forward. Hit and run. Targeting supply lines instead of military bases. Psychological warfare. Jack pointed to different areas on the map. These aren't random attacks. They're following a pattern that Earth generals used centuries ago. The three aliens exchanged worried looks. That is why we are here, Trell said. The Council is considering asking for human help. Jack raised his eyebrows. The ban has been in place for 2 centuries. The Council was very clear that humans were too dangerous to participate in galactic conflicts. Times change, Vorax growled. The Void Collective does not follow normal battle rules. They attack civilian targets, they use dirty tricks. Like humans did, Jack stated. The room fell silent. Jack stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. Do you know why the ban was put in place? He asked without turning around. The Earth solution, Mira said softly. The stories say humans ended the last great war in a way that horrified the galaxy. Jack nodded. My great-grandfather never talked about what they did, but it ended a war that had been going on for 30 years. The galaxy decided humans were too unpredictable, too willing to cross lines that other species wouldn't. And yet here we are, Trell said, asking for that same unpredictability. Jack turned around. What exactly are you asking for, Ambassador? The Council will vote tomorrow on temporarily lifting the ban. They want you to lead a human advisory team, but only to give advice, no direct fighting. Jack sat back down at his desk. He opened his drawer and pulled out an old, worn book. The aliens watched curiously as he flipped through the pages. This is The Art of War by Sun Tzu, Jack explained. A human military text written over 3,000 years ago. It says, all warfare is based on deception. The Void Collective understands this. The Galactic Defense Forces do not. Will you help us, Commander Reed? Mira asked. Before Jack could answer, his computer beeped with an urgent message. He opened it and frowned. The Void Collective just attacked Proxima Station. That's deep in human territory, Jack said, standing up quickly. They've never attacked human worlds before. The ban works both ways, Vorax said. They know humans cannot fight back. Jack's face hardened. They're testing the boundaries. If the Council lifts the ban, I want more than an advisory role. That would be difficult to approve, Trell said, his eyes now dark blue with worry. Then the Council needs to understand what they're asking for, Jack replied. Human warfare isn't just about tactics or technology. It's about a mindset that your species have never fully understood. Jack walked to a wall display and pressed a button. A hidden panel slid open, revealing a small storage area. Inside was an old uniform, different from the ceremonial one he wore now. This one was designed for combat, with armor plates and utility pouches. Next to it hung a strange-looking helmet with a dark visor. My great-grandfather's combat gear, Jack explained. He kept it as a reminder of what humans were capable of. The aliens stared at the armor with a mixture of curiosity and unease. There's an old human saying, Jack continued. Let sleeping dogs lie. For 200 years, the galaxy has been content to let humans sleep. Now, you want to wake us up. We need your help, Trell said simply. The Council will vote tomorrow, but I wanted to know if you would accept the position if offered. Jack closed the panel and returned to his desk. He opened the metal box and took out a small silver star attached to a ribbon. This was given to my great-grandfather for his role in the Earth solution. Do you know what he told me when I was a child? He said, this isn't for bravery, it's for being willing to do what no one else would. Jack put the medal back in the box. If the Council lifts the ban, I will help. But they need to know what they're asking for. Humans don't fight like other species. We don't have the same limits. Trell nodded slowly. I will tell them your conditions. As the alien stood to leave, Jack's computer beeped again. Another urgent message. The Void Collective just destroyed Proxima Station, Jack said, his voice tight. 5,000 human colonists. No survivors. The aliens froze. Jack looked up from his screen, his eyes cold. Tell the Council they have my answer. It's time the galaxy remembered why they banned us in the first place. After the aliens left, Jack returned to the window. The stars seemed colder now. 200 years of peace was about to end. He wondered if the galaxy was ready for what was coming. Humans had been banned from galactic wars for good reasons. Now, those reasons were about to become clear again. 3 days after the destruction of Proxima Station, Jack Reed stood in a large meeting room aboard the Galactic Council's flagship. The circular table in the center held representatives from 12 different species. All eyes were on him as he finished his presentation. And that's why the Void Collective's attacks have been successful despite your technological advantages, Jack said, turning off the holographic display. They're using psychological warfare. They want you afraid. Admiral Krex, a tall, insect-like being with 4 arms and compound eyes, clicked his mandibles in frustration. This makes no sense. War's about strength and numbers. The stronger force wins. Jack shook his head. Not always. Earth history is full of examples where the weaker side won because they fought smarter, not harder. The Galactic Council had voted to partially lift the ban. Humans could now advise alien forces but still couldn't fight directly. Jack had been appointed as the chief human advisor, much to the discomfort of many council members. What do you suggest we do, Commander Reed? Asked Council Leader Orza, an elderly being with pale blue skin and white hair that seemed to float around her head. Jack walked around the table, looking at each representative. First, stop thinking like a traditional military. The Void Collective isn't attacking your strongest points. They're hitting where you're weak and vulnerable. He pointed to the star map floating above the table. See these supply routes? They've cut off 3 major military bases from getting fuel and food. Your ships are powerful, but they can't fight if they can't move or if their crews are hungry. Admiral Krex stood up angrily. This is dishonorable. In proper warfare, armies face each other directly. The Void Collective doesn't care about your honor, Jack replied calmly. They care about winning. The room fell silent. Jack could feel the tension in the air. These beings had fought wars for thousands of years with strict rules and traditions. The idea of fighting differently was alien to them. Ironically, a soft voice spoke from the corner of the room. Perhaps we should listen to the human, all. Heads turned to Admiral Trax, an older military leader with gray skin and sad eyes. He was known for his experience in the last major galactic conflict. I was there when the Earth solution ended the Great War, Trax said quietly. I saw what humans can do when pushed too far. If Commander Reed says the Void Collective is using human tactics, we should pay attention. Jack nodded gratefully to the old admiral. At least someone understood the gravity of the situation. What do you propose, Commander? Council Leader Orza asked again. Form smaller, faster strike teams instead of large battle groups, Jack said. Hit their supply lines the same way they're hitting yours. Use deception. Make them think you're attacking one place while you're really targeting another. Admiral, Krex's antenna twitched in disgust. Trickery and lies. This is not how honorable species conduct war. Would you rather be honorable or survive? Jack asked bluntly. Before Krex could respond, the room's emergency lights flashed red. A communications officer rushed in. The Void Collective has launched simultaneous attacks on 3 more systems, the officer reported. They're using a new weapon that disables our ship's shields. Jack turned to the council members. They're adapting faster than you. This is what humans do in war. We change tactics, we innovate, we find weaknesses and exploit them. Council Leader Orza stood. Admiral Trax, take Commander Reed and implement his suggestions with your fleet. Admiral Krex, secure the core systems. With our traditional forces, we will try both approaches. As the meeting broke up, Admiral Trax approached Jack. Walk with me, Commander, the old admiral said. They left the council chamber and moved to a quiet observation deck. Through the massive window, they could see ships of various designs coming and going from the station. You didn't tell them everything. In there, Trax said, his voice low. About what you suspect? Jack looked at the Admiral with surprise. What do you mean? I've studied human warfare since the ban, Trax admitted. The Void Collective isn't just using human tactics. They're using them too well, as if they know human military thinking from the inside. Jack nodded slowly. I've had the same thought. The attack on Proxima Station wasn't random. It was personal. A message. You think humans are helping them, Trax said. It wasn't a question. I think it's possible, Jack replied. Not all humans agreed with the ban. Some thought it was shameful to be excluded from galactic affairs. Trax turned to face Jack fully. If you're right, this becomes even more dangerous. The Council partially lifted the ban to get human help against the Void Collective. If they discover humans might be on both sides, they'll reinstate the ban immediately and we'll lose this war, Jack finished. What are you going to do? Trax asked. Jack stared out at the stars. First, I'm going to help you implement the strategies I suggested. Then I need to find proof of human involvement with the Void Collective. And if you find it, then I'll need to deal with it quietly, Jack said. For 200 years, humans have lived peacefully in the galaxy. I won't let a few traitors ruin that. Trax nodded. I'll help you. Not all of us fear humans, Commander Reed. Some of us remember that before the Earth solution, humans fought to protect others as often as they fought for themselves. Jack smiled slightly. Thank you, Admiral. Their conversation was interrupted by another alarm. Jack's personal communicator beeped urgently. He checked the message and his face darkened. What is it? Trax asked. The Void Collective just hit New Terra Colony, Jack said, his voice tight with anger. Second human target in a week. Casualties? Unknown yet. But they left something behind. This time. Jack showed Trax the image on his communicator, a symbol burned into the ground of the colony's main plaza. Trax looked confused. What does it mean? It's an ancient human military symbol, Jack explained. It means traitor. So you were right, Trax said quietly. Jack nodded, his face grim. Humans are helping the Void Collective, and they're sending me a message. What will you do now? Jack turned from the window, determination in his eyes. What humans do best, Admiral, adapt and overcome. As they walked toward the hangar bay where Trax's ship waited, Jack knew the galaxy was about to learn why humans had been banned from warfare. Not because they were evil, but because when pushed, there were no limits to what they would do to win. And somewhere out there, other humans had forgotten what lines should never be crossed. 2 weeks after the attack on New Terra, Jack Reed stood in front of 30 alien officers inside the battlecruiser Stellar Dawn. Each officer represented a different species in the Galactic Defense Forces. Some looked skeptical, others curious, and a few openly hostile. The first rule of human warfare, Jack said, pacing across the front of the room, is that there are no rules. A murmur of disapproval spread through the audience. A tall, purple-skinned officer stood up. This goes against everything we believe, he said. War has codes, honor, structure. Jack nodded. And that's why you're losing. The Void Collective doesn't care about your codes or your honor. In the 2 weeks since Jack had started advising Admiral Trax's fleet, they had managed to slow the Void Collective's advance, but they hadn't stopped it. 5 more systems had fallen, though now the enemy was paying a higher price for each victory. Today we're going to talk about something humans call psychological warfare, Jack continued. Winning the battle in your enemy's mind before firing a single shot. Brought up images on the large screen behind him. They showed damaged Void Collective ships retreating from a recent battle. This looks like a victory for us, Jack said. But look closer. He zoomed in on one of the enemy ships. Small pods were launching from its side. While you were celebrating, pushing them back, they were dropping stealth units onto the planet below. By the time you realized what happened, they had already taken control of the main communications tower. The entire planet surrendered without a ground battle. The room fell silent. Jack could see the realization sinking in. The Void Collective understands that war happens here. Jack tapped his temple. as much as it happens on the battlefield. Admiral Trax stood from his seat in the back. Commander Reed is right. Our traditional tactics aren't working. We need to learn new ways to fight. Jack nodded gratefully to the Admiral. Over the past 2 weeks, Trax had become his strongest ally. The old Admiral understood what was at stake better than anyone. I've divided you into 5 teams, Jack said. Each team will learn different human warfare techniques: deception, guerrilla tactics, psychological operations, intelligence gathering, and contingency planning. Contingency planning? Asked a small bird-like officer. We already have backup plans. Not like this, Jack replied. Humans plan for failure in ways your military doesn't understand. We assume everything will go wrong and prepare accordingly. The training session lasted 8 hours. By the end, most of the officers looked overwhelmed. A few seemed excited by the new ideas. Others remained skeptical. As the room emptied, Admiral Trax approached Jack. You. Push them hard, Trax observed. We don't have time for gentle teaching, Jack replied. The Void Collective is getting stronger, and I'm more convinced than ever that humans are helping them. Trax lowered his voice. The Council is concerned about your methods. Admiral Krex has filed a formal complaint. Jack wasn't surprised. Krex had opposed human involvement from the beginning. Has his fleet had any successes against the Void Collective? Jack asked. No, Trax admitted. They've lost 2 more battle groups using traditional tactics. Jack's communicator beeped. He checked the message and frowned. What is it? Trax asked. I need to show you something, Jack said. In private. They walked to Jack's quarters. Inside, Jack activated a security field that blocked any listening devices. My contacts found this, Jack said, bringing up a video on his personal screen. The video showed a human woman in a strange uniform addressing a group of Void Collective soldiers. She was explaining battle plans, pointing to maps of galactic Defense Forces positions. Who is she? Trax asked. Her name is Maria Reed, Jack said quietly. My sister. Trax's eyes widened. Your own blood relative is helping the enemy? Jack nodded, his face tight with anger and pain. We haven't spoken in 15 years. She always believed humans should have rejected the ban by force. She thought we had become weak living under alien rules. Did you know she was involved with the Void Collective? No, Jack said. I thought she had settled on a frontier colony. Now I understand why they attacked Proxima Station and New Terra. They were sending me a message. What will you do? Trax asked. Before Jack could answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. The intercom crackled. Admiral Trax to the bridge. Emergency situation. They rushed to the bridge. Officers were running between stations, shouting orders. Report! Trax commanded. The Void Collective has launched a major offensive, a communications officer reported. They're hitting Freedom Colony. It's a direct attack on a human settlement, sir. Jack froze. Freedom Colony was home to over 1 million human civilians. It was also where he had grown up. This is too much of a coincidence, Jack said to Trax. They're targeting my home world. Maria is making this personal. Trax turned to his navigation officer. Set course for Freedom Colony, maximum speed. Sir, the weapons officer called out. Council protocols state we can't engage directly to defend human colonies. The ban is only partially lifted. Jack slammed his fist on a console. 1 million humans live there. Are you going to let them die because of politics? The bridge fell silent. All eyes turned to Admiral Trax. The Void Collective has changed the rules of engagement, Trax said finally. We will defend Freedom Colony. Admiral, the first officer said hesitantly, that would directly violate Council orders. I've fought in 3 galactic wars, Trax replied. I know what's at stake here. If Freedom Colony falls, the Void Collective will grow stronger. And more importantly, it's the right thing to do. Jack looked at the Admiral with new respect. Sir, the communications officer interrupted. We're receiving a direct message from the Void Collective fleet. They're asking to speak with Commander Reed specifically. Jack and Trax exchanged glances. Put it on screen, Trax ordered. The main view screen flickered to life. Maria Reed's face appeared, looking so similar to Jack that several officers gasped. "Hello, brother," she said, smiling coldly. "Surprised to see me?" "Why are you doing this, Maria?" Jack asked, his voice steady despite his anger. "To show the galaxy what humans are truly capable of," she replied. "For 200 years we've been treated as dangerous animals, kept on a leash. It's time to remind everyone why they feared us. By helping aliens attack human colonies? You're killing your own people." Maria's smile faded. "Sometimes sacrifices must be made. The Earth solution taught us that." "The Earth solution was a mistake," Jack said. "A desperate action in desperate times." "It was our finest hour," Maria countered. "When humans showed the galaxy what we're willing to do to win." She leaned closer to the screen. "I'm giving you a choice, Jack. Join us, or watch Freedom Colony burn." Jack straightened his shoulders. "You know my answer." "Then you'll need to stop me yourself," Maria said. "But that would mean breaking the ban completely, wouldn't it? Are you willing to do that, brother? Are you willing to become what the galaxy fears?" The screen went dark. Jack turned to Trax, his decision already made. "I need a ship," he said, "and I need volunteers who understand what they're getting into." "You'll be violating the ban," Trax warned. "The Council will never forgive that." Jack's eyes hardened. "Some lines have to be crossed. This is one of them. The ban on human warfare was about to be broken, and the galaxy would remember why it had been created in the first place." The scout ship Shadowfall moved silently through space, its advanced stealth systems hiding it from enemy sensors. Inside the small bridge, Jack Reed sat in the captain's chair, surrounded by his hand-picked crew of 5 humans. "Status report," Jack said, his voice low and tense. "We're approaching Freedom Colony," replied Tom, the navigation officer. "Long-range scanners show 7 Void collective warships in orbit. They've already landed ground forces." It had been 3 days since Jack broke the ban completely. Admiral Trax had given him a small stealth vessel and turned a blind eye as Jack recruited former military personnel who had been living quietly throughout the galaxy. Each volunteer knew they were risking everything. "Any word from Admiral Trax's fleet?" asked Lisa, the communications specialist. "They're engaged with the main Void Collective Force 2 systems away," Jack replied. "It's a diversion. My sister knew exactly what she was doing when she split their forces." Jack studied the tactical display. Freedom Colony's defenses were crumbling. They had never been built to withstand a full military assault. The colony had always relied on the ban for protection. No one attacked human worlds because humans couldn't fight back. "Time to show them why humans were banned from warfare," Jack said. "Everyone remember the plan?" His small crew nodded. All of them were veterans who had kept their skills sharp despite years of peace. Like Jack, they had been waiting for this day, though none of them would admit it. "Tom, take us in. Lisa, jam their communications. Ben, prepare the drop pods." The Shadowfall accelerated toward Freedom Colony, still hidden by its stealth systems. As they approached the planet, Jack felt a familiar calm settle over him. This was what humans were made for. The desperate moments when everything hung in the balance. "Entering atmosphere in 30 seconds, Tom announced. Jack stood and moved to the equipment locker. Inside were 6 sets of combat armor, far more advanced than anything the Galactic Defense Forces used. These were human designs developed in secret over decades despite the ban. "Suit up," Jack ordered. The armor enclosed each human like a second skin, enhancing strength, speed, and reflexes. The helmets connected to a shared battle network, allowing each team member to see through the other's eyes. "Drop pods ready," Ben reported. "Launch," Jack commanded. 6 pods shot from the Shadowfall toward different parts of the colony. Jack's pod plummeted through the atmosphere, the heat shield glowing red as it descended. Inside, Jack checked his weapons one last time. The pod crashed into the central plaza of Freedom Colony. Before the dust settled, Jack was out, weapon raised. Through his team's shared vision, he could see they had all landed safely at their designated targets. "Move out," Jack ordered through the secure comm link. "Remember, we need to draw attention, away from the civilians." Jack moved through the familiar streets of his childhood home, now a battleground. The Void Collective soldiers were tall, four-armed beings with bone-white skin. They turned toward him in surprise as he approached. What happened next was recorded by the colony's security systems and broadcast across the galaxy. For the first time in 200 years, humans went to war. Jack moved with inhuman speed, his enhanced armor making him faster and stronger than any natural being. His weapons fired with perfect accuracy, disabling the enemy soldiers without killing them. He didn't need to kill. He just needed them to focus on him instead of the civilians. Across the colony, his 5 team members were doing the same. Through their shared neural link, they coordinated perfectly, each one covering the other's blind spots, setting up ambushes, and leading the enemy into traps. Within an hour, nearly half the Void Collective ground forces had been neutralized, and not a single human soldier had been injured. The efficiency was terrifying to watch. This wasn't the honorable, straightforward combat the galaxy was used to. This was something else, calculated, precise, and utterly merciless in its execution. The colony's communication center had been the first target Jack's team secured. Now he stood inside it, watching the battle unfold on multiple screens. "Sir," Lisa called from a nearby console, "we're receiving a transmission from the enemy command ship." "Put it through," Jack said. Maria's face appeared on the main screen. She looked surprised but not upset. "So you did it," she said. "You broke the ban. How does it feel to be a real human again, brother?" "This isn't about being human," Jack replied. "It's about protecting innocent people." Maria laughed. "Look at what you've done in just 1 hour. 6 humans against hundreds of Void soldiers, and you're winning. Do you understand now why I did this? The galaxy needs to remember what we're capable of." "You attacked human colonies," Jack said, his voice hard. "You killed thousands of our own people. I needed to push you far enough," Maria explained. "I needed the galaxy to see why they feared us, and now they're watching. Every security feed from Freedom Colony is being broadcast across galactic channels. They're all seeing what humans can do in battle." Jack realized with growing horror that this had been her plan all along. She had wanted him to break the ban publicly, to show the galaxy why humans had been restricted for 2 centuries. "The Void Collective ships are pulling back," Ben reported from another console. "They're retreating from orbit. They've served their purpose," Maria said. "They helped me show the truth." "What truth?" Jack demanded. "That the ban wasn't to protect the galaxy from humans," Maria replied. "It was to protect humans from ourselves." The screen went dark as she cut the transmission. Jack turned to the tactical display. The enemy forces were indeed retreating, but something else was happening. Several Galactic Council ships were entering the system, not Admiral Trax's fleet, but ships directly from the Council itself. "Sir," Lisa said, her voice tight with concern, "we're receiving a message from the Council ships. They're ordering us to stand down and surrender immediately." Jack had expected this. Breaking the ban had consequences. "Tell the team to complete the evacuation of civilians, then meet at the extraction point," Jack ordered. "We're not surrendering." "What about the Council?" Lisa asked. "They've just seen what 6 humans can do in battle," Jack replied. "Let's show them what we can do when we're trying to escape." As the evacuation finished, and Jack's team prepared to leave Freedom Colony, news of what had happened was spreading across the galaxy. The footage of humans in combat had been seen by billions. Some watched in horror, others in awe, but all with the same realization. The ban had existed for a reason. Human warfare wasn't just about technology or brutality. It was about something deeper. A willingness to do whatever was necessary. A capacity for unconventional thinking that other species lacked. And now, for better or worse, that capacity had been unleashed again. As Jack's team boarded their ship and prepared to run the Council's blockade, he knew the galaxy would never be the same. The human element had returned to warfare, and nothing could put it back in the box. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council hummed with nervous energy. Representatives from over 50 species filled the circular chamber, their voices a mix of anger, fear, and confusion. At the center stood Jack Reed, alone and unafraid. 1 month had passed since the battle at Freedom Colony. 1 month since humans had broken the ban and reminded the galaxy why they had been feared for so long. 1 month of chaos as the Void Collective continued its advance, though now more cautiously. "Commander Reed," said Council Leader Orza, her voice carrying through the hall, "you stand accused of violating the most sacred law of our galactic community. How do you plead?" Jack looked around the room, meeting the eyes of various council members. Some looked away, unable to hold his gaze. "I did what was necessary to save lives," Jack replied simply. "I would do it again." A murmur ran through the crowd. Admiral Trax stood from his seat and approached the center. "If I may speak, Council Leader," Trax said. Orza nodded, and the old admiral continued. "I witnessed Commander Reed's actions firsthand. Yes, he broke the ban, but he also saved an entire colony of civilians who would have died otherwise." "The ban exists for a reason," countered Admiral Krex, stepping forward. "We all saw the footage from Freedom Colony. 6 humans defeated an army. This is why humans were banned from warfare. They are too dangerous. And yet you need us now," Jack said. "The Void Collective continues to gain ground. Your conventional forces can't stop them." The council chamber fell silent. It was the uncomfortable truth no one wanted to acknowledge. "There is also the matter of the Void Collective leadership," Admiral Trax added. "Commander Reed's sister, Maria Reed, has been confirmed as their primary military advisor. Humans are already involved in this war whether we acknowledge it or not." Council Leader Orza sighed heavily. "This places us in an impossible position." Jack stepped forward. "There is another option. The Earth solution." The words sent a shock through the room. Many council members stood in protest, shouting their objections. "You would dare suggest such a thing?" Krex demanded. "The Earth solution is what led to the ban in the first place." Jack held up his hands for silence. "I don't think any of you actually understand what the Earth solution was. You've heard stories, rumors, myths, but few of you know the truth." He took a small data crystal from his pocket and inserted it into the central console. A holographic image appeared above them, an old video recording. "This is my great-grandfather," Jack explained as the image of an elderly human in military uniform came into focus. "General James Reed, the architect of the Earth solution. This recording was made shortly before his death, intended to be revealed only when necessary." The aged face of James Reed looked out at them across 2 centuries. His voice was strong despite his years. "If you're watching this," the recording began, "then humans have once again been called to war. The galaxy has likely forgotten or misunderstood what the Earth solution truly was." The recording continued, explaining the truth of what had happened 200 years ago. As the explanation unfolded, the council members' expressions changed, from fear to surprise to understanding. "The Earth solution wasn't a superweapon," Jack said as the recording ended. "It wasn't an act of brutality or genocide as some myths claim. It was a strategy that required a terrible moral choice, one that ended the war but at a cost to humanity's soul." "A calculated sacrifice," Admiral Trax said softly. "Not of the enemy, but of your own principles." Jack nodded. "Humans were banned from warfare not because we were too violent, but because we were willing to cross lines that other species wouldn't. The galaxy feared what that meant." Council Leader Orza stood and approached Jack. "And now your sister wishes to use this approach with the Void Collective?" "Yes," Jack confirmed. "But there's a difference. The original Earth solution was a last resort, used only when all other options had failed. Maria wants to make it the first option. She wants to prove humans are superior." "And what do you want, Commander Reed?" Orza asked. Jack looked around the chamber. "I want to show there's another way. Humans aren't just good at war, we're good at ending wars. The same creativity, the same willingness to try unconventional approaches can be used for peace as well as conflict." He turned to the central display and brought up tactical information about the Void Collective. "For the past month, my team has been gathering intelligence. We've learned that the Void Collective is not a natural alliance. Many of their member species were forced to join through conquest or intimidation. If we offer them a way out, protection, independence, we can fracture the collective from within, Admiral Krex scoffed. Diplomacy. Now? After they've conquered dozens of worlds? Not just diplomacy, Jack replied. A combination of targeted military strikes and diplomatic outreach. Human warfare isn't just about fighting. It's about knowing when not to fight, when to use other means to achieve victory. The council debated for hours. Finally, Council Leader Orza called for silence. We have reached a decision, she announced. The ban on human warfare will be modified, not lifted. Humans will be permitted to form a special task force, under Commander Reed's leadership, to address the Void Collective threat. This task force will have the authority to use both military and diplomatic means. She turned to Jack. However, there will be oversight. Admiral Trax will serve as the Council's representative to ensure the Earth solution, in its most extreme form, is not implemented without Council approval. Jack nodded. Acceptable. Furthermore, Orza continued, once this crisis is resolved, humans will take on a new role in galactic society, not as warriors, but as teachers of conflict resolution. Your unique perspective on warfare makes you valuable not just in fighting wars, but in preventing them. As the council session ended, Admiral Trax approached Jack. You knew this would happen, didn't you? Trax asked. From the moment your sister revealed herself, you've been working toward this outcome. Jack smiled slightly. Humans are good at strategy, Admiral. Not just battlefield strategy, but long-term thinking. My sister wanted to show why humans were feared. I wanted to show why we're needed. And the Earth solution? The real one? Trax asked quietly. Will remain a last resort, Jack assured him. The galaxy doesn't need more destructive power. It needs a new understanding of conflict itself. As they walked from the council chamber, news arrived of another Void Collective attack. But this time, instead of fear, Jack felt hope. The galaxy had finally begun to understand why humans had been banned from warfare, not to protect others from humans, but to protect the galaxy from what war truly was when all limits were removed. Now, with that understanding, perhaps they could build something better. Not just victory, but a lasting peace that acknowledged the darker truth of conflict while striving for something more.